My name is Tessa Blunt, and today I will be discussing the stress effects on learning disorder. What I found is that most psychologists define stress as being in two main categories: short term and long term. Short term would be a person being startled when a balloon unexpectedly pops. There's a start and an end to it. And a long term would be something more chronic that had no clear end, like financial problems. Depending on which type of stress we are encountering, this can affect how we learn in many ways. Children are more subject to getting this disorder than grown adults are. Stressful homes where young children are raised can have a large influence on their overall stress as they grow and will eventually affect how well they learn. The fight or flight instinct in us all is a stress response and guides us on what we pay attention to. The fight or flight instinct symptoms include a racing heart, sweating, and expanding of the lungs. These are all happening simultaneously to prepare us to exert a lot of energy quickly, as to run away from a lion and to survive, things of that nature. The flip side of the symptoms of the fight or flight instinct is the slow acting chemicals released at the same time as the racing heart and sweating. The most common one that I'm sure most of you have heard of is cortisol. When cortisol is released, the body temporarily suppresses the immune system. And an example of this in the works is how when students get sick or catch a cold during finals week, or a cold sore pops up during a stressful time at work, psychologists refer to the extended exposure to the cortisol, the allostatic load, or the wear and tear on our body. People who are exposed to stress in long-term situations are all at risk for this disorder affecting them. The disorder is most commonly seen in young kids, the students in high-stress situations as well. There are multiple health effects associated with long time spans of stress in an individual, and they include being more susceptible to physical diseases, mental health problems, and cognitive impairments as we get older. And research has also connected the dots from early life stress to our bodies not being able to reestablish neutrality after we are exposed to a stressful situation. So our ability to bounce back to a calm state is impaired. The feedback systems that are in place are dysfunctional after a certain amount of time being exposed to high stress. Current research is showing that, especially in young adults with learning disabilities, that positive motivation can be a powerful tool. Through studies that researchers have found that children who have problems with memory and learning, even due to the effects of a stressful childhood, can still thrive within the classroom when the situation is reinforced with positive motivation. Also, relevance to their personal lives and also making the learning environment less intimidating. Positive learning experiences can improve brain function and help strengthen neural pathways in the memory parts of our brains. And this issue is a challenge today more than ever because we live in a very stressful world. Technology is a large part of that, and technology can be a useful tool for learning, but research has also shown that people in classrooms can be more stressed out and perform more poorly when the technology aspect is overwhelming. So not only do kids need to learn what is being taught in the classroom, but on top of it, they also need to learn how to use the technology that is being used to teach and how to control the influx of all of the information that can be overloading their stimulation. The amygdala is a part of our brain that is known for being activated for fear, stress, and anxiety. Stephen Krashen's idea of the affective filter is what they have learned from brain scans on students during times of stress. This shows evidence that when students are overstimulated and therefore setting off alarms for the amygdala, that new information that they are attempting to learn cannot actually pass through and reach the memory part of our brains, such as the prefrontal cortex. Teachers are starting to adopt this perspective and apply it to their teaching strategies. Here are 6 examples of how teachers can help students overcome this hurdle of stress so that they can retain information learned. The first example is to listen to the student. Teachers who can listen to their students, especially during critical times of stress, can help their students feel like they are not alone, that they are seen and understood. Ignoring students who are struggling is not the answer. Creating a space or activity for the student of any age can be helpful to the student in coping with the overwhelm of stress. Another way teachers can help is to talk to their students one-on-one. Addressing the students' issues publicly or in front of their peers would only make things worse. Teachers can also ask other teachers about the students, trying to get a more full background of what may be the root cause of the stress for the student. Continual monitoring of the student would be helpful in the student feeling supported as well. So another important thing here is the Yerkes-Dodson law, and this is the idea that peak performance does not necessarily happen during times of the lowest stress. As you can see in the photo, the peak performance is actually during a moderately high stress level, but then the performance curve starts to decline if stress continues to increase. So there's kind of a sweet spot in there for productivity. Also, if you're not stressed at all, you are not alert enough to be focused on what you're learning. So with that being said, I would say that it's safe to assume that we all have stress affecting our learning at some point in our lives. The next question to answer is, how do we treat this disorder? There are actually many ways to manage the stress in our lives. The Mayo Clinic lists several ways to cope. Exercise and being active is the number one way to treat stress. This helps release the feel-good endorphins in our body and helps your overall well-being and focus. And it does not take very much exercise to get these good benefits. Eating a healthy diet and avoiding unhealthy habits is also key to keeping your stress levels down. Meditation is also one of the best ways to manage stress in the body. There are many resources for guided meditations if you aren't sure how to start. This can help quiet your overstimulated mind. Laughing and connecting with others is an important part of our lives, and without it, we can quickly become stressed and it will start to take its toll on our bodies. Getting good quality sleep is vital to our overall health, and obviously with our stress levels. Our brains cannot function well without adequate sleep. And then finally, journaling and therapy or counseling would always be a good way to help relieve stress. If we can find healthy ways to express how we feel, it will decrease our overall stress levels in our body. And as far as for the future, I believe that our environments for stress are only going to get worse. I can see how with technology always advancing, the overwhelming information at our fingertips, the entertainment, and news from around the world, that stress will most likely always be something we need to manage. The image that is on the screen is something we should maybe all have hung up for us to see often to check in with ourselves. This particular image is from a religious source, but it could be modified to fit anyone's life. I know in my life personally that this disorder has been an issue for me at times. And doing this research has confirmed that when we are stressed past a certain point, that learning simply cannot take place. To avoid this, I encourage everyone to make a chart for themselves, including activities that help manage stress coordinated with the level of stress you are experiencing. And thank you all for watching.